if you have no idea what business to start, like a lot of the resources online
Yep.
are about scaling.
Yes.
But like I've done volunteer work for the past 2 years, psychology, business background, and
Okay.
I don't know what business to start at this point in my life. So how do we go about finding out what we want to do?
You know, my big thing is at this young of an age, I think people should taste shit. I think of starting a business the way I think about finding out what your favorite food is. I think you should just go do things that intuitively feel potentially right. You know, you don't know exactly, but you know there's things you're interested in, and I would lean into those interests.
Okay.
You know, whether that's skateboarding or cooking or like education online or sneaker flip, like you have interests, and leaning into those I think work.
Right, so my interests are basically just, I like creative things and helping people.
Good.
So it's very broad.
You're gonna have to go narrow. You're gonna have to go more narrow. Like, you know, those are feelings you have, but you have interests underneath that. You know, painting is creative. Being an entrepreneur and coming up with business ideas is creative. Like there's a lot of different versions. You're gonna have to go, to your point, lower.
Yeah.
You know, like I also like helping people and being creative, but I manifested that into a wine business, into a client service business, into content. You're gonna have to go lower.
Okay.
Cool.
Awesome.
All
Can
right.
I come?
Yeah, come.
Snap. Hey Gary, Michael Lotta.
How are you?
Queensland Runcorn.
How are
Shout
you?
out to my Runcorn people. Anyways,
There's
Gary,
none here? That was devastating.
Sorry, love you, Gary.
Here.
Question: what are your
I'm
top
listening.
5 tips for students fresh after graduating high school?
Top 5 advice for what, brother?
For graduating high school.
Top 5 tips for graduating high school?
No, sorry, fresh after graduating high school.
Got it. Well, I mean, I think number 1, 2 through 5 has to be self-awareness. So instead of giving you something generic, which is what the mercy is for me when I'm putting out content, let's go different. What are you actually asking me?
Well, not on script, but
Yeah, fuck your script. Like, yeah, there we go. What are you trying to
what
figure
I'm
out?
asking is, what self-drive should I have when I'm graduating high school? Or where should I do? What should I go? What if I have no plans for after what I do?
What do you want?
Something out the box.
What the fuck? Like, play with me here. Like, those are you're regurgitating thesis. Like, play with me here a little bit. Like, what do you like?
The bloke from the start, buying and selling on Amazon. I wouldn't mind getting into that.
That's good.
Yep.
Do that.
Okay, sweet.
You know, you know what I mean, though, bro. Like, what I'm outrageously passionate about is you're part of a generation. Like yesterday, some kid in Sydney's like, bro, how do I get out of the rat race? He's 16. I'm like, bro, you're not in the rat race. You know, like something outside of the box, that's theory, right? That's like jargon. Like to me, it's like, go basic. Like if you enjoy, look, you're talking to somebody, this last week I was in Chicago with my son and my best friend and some of the guys on my team, and we were at this baseball card convention. It was the first time I did being a baseball card dealer in 25 years. I went to another dealer and bought a Wayne Gretzky rookie card for $200. I brought it to my table and priced it at $260, and it sold. The high that I got on that $60 flip is 5 trillion times much bigger of a high than the 6 figures I'll make to give this speech over this last hour. They're not even in the same fucking universe. I love that, right? That's what you need to figure out. Like if you're lucky enough to actually like buying stuff and flipping it on Amazon, that is a business that can get you to millions of dollars because it's so real. Go into that instead of posturing with something outside the box. Go in the fucking box and execute.
How do I stay in love with the process?
Either you adjust what you do day to day or you sell the company.
That's the end goal, to sell it.
That's already the problem.
Why?
Because that's why people don't like their businesses. They build them to flip.
Okay.
I have no interest in ever selling any of my businesses. Now, it doesn't mean I'm right or wrong, it's why you're struggling. You don't love it, you want the money.
Exactly.
Bad.
Yeah. I'm honest about it, it's true.
I know. You could have lied and I still would have known you were lying
Yeah.
because of the way you asked the question.
Yeah.
I would argue that you're playing a game of holding your breath. So do what everybody does when they do a business they don't love. Hold your breath as long as you can and then fucking sell it. Or bring in a minority partner who fucking loves it and let them operate and let them earn from 10% to 50% over 3 years, and then have an infrastructure where you're aligned, but then always be prepared for her or him to say fuck you after 6 years, because now they're the only ones doing it and they don't want to give you 50 cents on the dollar anymore. But for you, at least you extracted value over those 6 years and you're happy to sell it back to her or him at the end of that 6 years. Both of those are options. You get to pick.
Okay, thanks.
But this is why, and that's great, but this is why I want to talk about this for a second. This is why I'm so passionate about people building a business around what they love. Because then you can play forever. It may be a little slow when your business is around footy or the Smurfs or root beer, because it takes time. But over time, you could go like this versus like this. And you're dealing with this. And that's okay. But you have to sell, you have to give up leverage now. You got it?
I got it.
Or are you gonna burn out?
Yeah.
You got it?
The real estate industry and mortgage broking, interest rates and stuff, it's not really that sexy.
No.
Right? So we've tried to make it sexy by combining it with my other passion, which is drinking fine rums.
I'm very excited about what you're saying. I'm being dead serious. People buy homes or give business to people they associate with. I think a lot of you should be talking more about what your favorite footy team is, what kind of beverages you like, what kind of shows you watch on Stan and Netflix. People stay so narrow and professional when all the opportunity is going broader of your actual true self. If you're actually deeply passionate on single barrel and esoteric rums, that is a gateway drug for you to do mortgage and real estate business. I think it's a great idea.
Okay, cool. So that answers so we've called our channel Rum and Real Estate.
I fucking love it, bro. You know what's so amazing about this interaction? You're new, but your intuition is so on.
But it's from you.
No, it's not from me, it's from you.
Because I was wondering, because we just don't have enough data to measure whether we're heading in the right direction.
You have no data because you just fucking started.
Exactly. So
fuck data. Why don't you make fucking 2 years worth of content and then think about it?
Perfect.
Here's the good news. If it's wrong, at least you drank a fuckload of good rum. Will the group have enough patience to see the results? I was on Twitter from 2007 to 2011, and I replied to every single person that tweeted at me, and in the beginning, because nobody knew who I was, I went to Twitter search, and I searched the word wine and other wine terms, found people talking about it, jumped into the conversation, and left good information. I did that for 7 to 8 hours a day for 4 years before anybody gave a fuck about who I was. Let me say that slowly one more time. For 7 to 8 hours a day, for 4 years, I would go to Twitter search wine terms, jump into them, and give information for 4 years before anybody gave a fuck who I was. Now I get DMs from people saying, in 3 weeks, I'll get a DM from somebody here saying, Gary, saw you in Jakarta, it was awesome. I started doing stuff, I'm not getting any traction. I reply, that's nice, Mario, you've been doing it for 3 fucking weeks. The level of let me take a real step back. If you're sitting in this chair and you want to do something that makes you happy and makes you money, let's just say that. I have no idea what people want in here, but fine. How many people happy money? Raise your hands if you want happy money. Raise it, don't be scared. Great. Let me ask you a question. If you have the audacity to be happy and have money, which, by the way, the amount of people that have lots of money and are very happy is very small. It just is. If you want to be happy and have money, don't you think it should take a long time and it should be hard? Right? That to me has been the most interesting thing. In this world that everything's so fast, and this world where one or two people look like Mark Zuckerberg or Travis, like where you can point to one or two people. You know, I don't know if you heard, there's 7.7 billion of us. But because you can point to one or two people that got it fast and a lot, all of a sudden everybody thinks it should be fast and a lot. At 34 years old, after working for 12 years, helping build my family business, I left my family business and I had no money. 34, no money. How many people here younger than 34? Raise your hands. D-Rock, where are you? Hold on, keep them up. D-Rock, where are you? Yo, right here, come here, look at this. Put the lights on, hands up. Look at this. Every hand here, stand up, actually, if you raised your hand, stand up. Every person here standing is under 34 years old. When I left Wine Library day to day at 34 years old, I had nothing. When I started VaynerMedia, we started it in Buddy Media's conference room because I didn't have dollars to spend on rent. Imagine how early I think you are in your life. My friends, it's early. It's early for 100% of the people in the room. It's ridiculously early for 95% of this room. This internet thing, it's big. It's real big. We haven't even started. Please understand how lucky, that's the only word I have for it, how lucky you are that you get to live during this era. Right now, anything that comes out of your mouth that is complaining makes your grandfather want to punch you in the fucking face. You understand? Do you understand how much better you have it than every generation before you? This is such a ridiculously special time, and literally the far majority of this room is not going to take advantage of it because of the insecurity of worrying about somebody who they don't even know leaving a comment that they're ugly. Are you literally not going to take advantage of the actual ability to be happy and successful because somebody comes on your account and says you're stupid? But this is what's playing out. This is what's happening. I mean, look at different cultures. On the way here, do you know that one of the biggest things that was DM'd here is that there's a lot of people coming here by themselves and they wanted advice how to say hello to somebody that they didn't know? What are you scared of? They're gonna bite you? We are living in a very fascinating time. A very fascinating time. It reminds me of when new countries are born and people buy up real estate. The attention of this room is real estate. You're trying to get it. Everybody's living on these things. It's gonna happen more, not less. You can judge it, that's fine, but that's what's gonna happen. And so if you are not producing words and videos and sounds for these 7 platforms, you almost don't exist. Now, what you say, though, matters very much. And let me give you a couple advice points from somebody who's really won. The number one thing you have to always do is talk about what you know. I watch people try to talk about stuff they don't know every single day because it's hot. Whether it's cannabis or sports betting or blockchain or social media, people start talking about things they don't know anything about because they're trying to grab. They think they're gonna get a fast score. Everybody wants a fast score. Do you know how many people have emailed me crying about buying Bitcoin at 10,000 a coin? Because it was gonna be 100,000 in a year. People are looking for fast scores. You know how many people here spent $800 on a course because it was gonna happen fast? Fast is bad. Fast is bad. Fast if you have talent and the right intent is amazing. Fast if you want cash immediately. So, please understand the world you're living in. Take it into context. Understand how remarkable this era is. Next, this is the most important word. You have to deploy self-awareness. My friends, self-awareness is the most important word. If you don't know who you are, you have no shot. But do not be embarrassed of who you are. When I knew that I was an entrepreneur in the 80s, I got D's and F's in school, and that was not acceptable in the 80s and 90s in America. If you were a bad student in America in the 80s and 90s, you were a loser. My friends' parents looked at me as I was a loser. But I knew who I was self-aware. I knew that I was an entrepreneur. I wanted to go and sell things on the weekend. I wanted to study the prices of wine and baseball cards instead of studying for school. I knew who I was. Playing video games seemed like a waste of time 20 years ago. Now there are people who make $50 million a year playing video games. If there is something you know and you like and you're passionate about, but it's not cool right now or important, do not deviate away from your thing. Triple down on your thing. The other thing is, be self-aware. How many people here are an entrepreneur or want to be? Raise your hands, I'm just curious. It's a lot of hands. The reality is, most of you can't be successful. I mean that. I'm not saying it to razz. It's rare to be a successful entrepreneur. It's hard. It's a real talent. We don't think it's a talent now because it's so easy to say you're one. One of the most important things about being self-aware is knowing, do you have the stomach to be an entrepreneur? Putting entrepreneur in your Instagram account, easy. Living the life of an entrepreneur where nobody else is on the line except you, hard, lonely, scary, difficult. If you do it because it's cool or you think it's right or you're not self-aware, it leads to depression and loss of money. If you deploy self-awareness and realize you're a number 2, a number 3, a number 4, you find an entrepreneur and you win. Self-awareness. You have to understand who you are. Without it, you are massively vulnerable in society. I believe that self-awareness and the ability to actually give without expectation are the 2 bricks of happiness. And it's been a big factor for me, which has allowed me to go fast. When you're stable, you can go fast because you're not worried about judgment. I've been able to do a lot of things because I'm not scared to lose. Because if I lose, it's my loss. If I lose money or time, it's my loss, not yours. I don't care what you say in the comments. That lack of fear is what gives an entrepreneur an advantage. That lack of fear is what lets somebody live life in happiness. We have to start having more important conversations of the operating system of your life. There are people here that work more on upgrading their phones than upgrading their minds. I mean it. I mean it. I am desperate. Listen, to come here all this way to talk about tactics is a waste of time. To come all this way and have one person in here gain actual courage to do something is super worth it. And for me, it's a very simple game. Let me give a very big secret to all the kids here who are living their lives for their parents or based on their parents' judgment. There's a very big secret that parents never tell you. If you go the other direction of where they want you to go and you become really successful, they are really proud and make pretend they never pushed you in the other direction. We need to talk about happiness, actual happiness. You know, like if you ask me how to answer your question, I think that we're in such a metrics-based world. How much money do you make? How many followers do you have? You know, everything's so mathed out in this tech world. This is why I'm advocating for the incredible, and I didn't invent it, I only followed the story once it happened. I think Instagram eliminating the like count in Australia and Canada really caught my attention because I think it's an unlock to creativity and happiness. You know.
Oh, so you're in favor of that?
I'm in massive favor of it.
Interesting, okay.
And it's really interesting. A lot of people are confused by that because I'm at the top of the sphere of it, and I'm like, that doesn't change my opinion of what brings value to people. I don't feel like it's detrimental to me. I feel like I think it actually fulfills my thesis, which is be creative, do what you want, be happy. So, when I think about generational wealth or things of that nature, like the amount of trust fund babies and third generation wealthy kids that I know that are the most miserable people on earth is enormous. I actually think, I remember judging Bill Gates and Warren Buffett for giving away all their money because I came from nothing. And now I understand it way more. I actually think the great curse that most parents give is too much money to their kids. Perspective, I think both my grandmothers always would talk about health. My father lost his dad at 15, my mother lost her mom at 5, and I think that affected me quite a bit. I think I feared losing my parents quite a bit. I think a lot of my strengths and shortcomings actually are predicated on that. And I feel as though I to this day speak quite a bit actually now out loud about the gratitude I have if everybody I love when I wake up in the morning is alive, and then every business loss, every judgment casted on me by somebody important, every adversity every minute, being late by 20 minutes right now, all those tiny things that a lot of people get stressed about, I'm just incapable of. Health over everything. And so I think that shapes my perspective to gratitude and happiness, which then fuels my energy to accomplish.
I completely feel that. I mean, for myself as well, going through that adversity on the entrepreneurial journey, I recall right before Muslim Girl got its first investor, I was having this moment where I had used every last penny to my name on this venture. I could no longer afford rent. I was couch surfing, friends with friends places. I had this one moment with myself that I recall when I was in a dark basement with no electricity somewhere in Patterson, New Jersey.
Yep.
And I was sleeping on a dirty ass futon. And I asked myself, how much more can I take? How much longer can I last? Going through all the adversity that you faced to get here, did you ever have a moment like that?
No, I didn't. I was too good at making money. That's just, and even better at not spending it. I'm so good like that. That's a talent of mine. And so, I saved all my money. I didn't buy stuff. I built a huge baseball card collection. I sold it. I always had money because that is my talent, and so, no, I did not. However, my version of that was more mental. I got really aggressively bullied by teachers and parents in my high school years because they probably saw a kind, talented kid who was failing so miserably in the way that they scored the world, which was school, that they really put a lot of pressure on me in their words, in a way that probably came from a good place in hindsight. But it put a lot of pressure on me mentally when everybody said you're gonna be a loser, you're wasting your talent, you could be doing so much more. It's right there. It's right there. I mean, this is real life. I tell stories. This is why I got there. I'm showing my report card right now. I think that when people hear I was a bad student, I don't think they understand how bad. My class rank was 243 out of 254. There was only 11 people that were worse in my high school class out of 254 people. And obviously I've had disproportionately more success than probably the combination of class, let alone individuals in it. And not in happiness, because so many of them are happy, thank God, but I knew what I was and I knew what I was gonna accomplish. So listen, here's my true narrative that people are confused by. As a kid with no money, starting with lemonade, making $1 then $2, my parents never gave me money. My parents never gave me money. I never got $1 in allowance, right? My dad lent me $1,000 when I started my business to add to what I had. And then I paid it back within a week because it didn't even feel good, and I was like, fuck that. And so my parents never gave me money, and then I have money, $8,000, $10,000, and then I go into my dad's family business. And then I had my next adversity, which is from 22 to 34, I built an enormous business. I had no social life, and I owned none of the business. And at 34 years old, I leave my family business to start VaynerMedia, and I have nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because not only did I build a huge business for my dad and my mom and my family, but I also underpaid myself to reinvest in the business. So I wasn't even compensated properly for my executive prowess. You know, some could say, well, I've built businesses for other companies. I'm like, cool, at least you got paid $400,000 a year, $800,000 a year when you took something from 3 to 65. I didn't get even that. I was treating it as if it was mine. But that doesn't, I used to resent my dad a little bit for that. I'm happy to admit that. But that's because it happened in 2011, 12, 13, when I was stuck in this startup world, and I needed to remind myself that I was in a family business. And every family business of immigrants in America is the old man or the old woman owns it until they die and then they give it to the kid. So it wasn't that they were doing anything different than anybody else. It was that I was so special, and that's just the truth. Not a lot of kids go into the business, take control, and explode the fuck out of it. So, and then, by the way, and then my next adversity started. I started this business with my brother 50-50 when I had all the leverage, and then he left early, and I had to buy him out. And so like, I am a story at adversity when it comes to the financial part. But my brother, but my brother gave me what I wanted: control and respect and acknowledgement that I was the alpha. You know? An influencer person brings value to their audience, which creates a relationship with them predicated on value. Whether that value is they're so attractive that you want to look at a model, or they make you laugh, or they give you a mindset shift, or they give you a tactic on TikTok. I don't get to judge why somebody becomes influential. The audience gets to judge. That's fine. That's cool. That's whatever. I think what I think I do extremely well is I counterpoint my own points. I always say that I'm a contradiction. Like, I believe influencers really matter. I was right. I was right 8 years ago when I was yelling about that. It's happened. People have amassed followers and people want to tap into that attention, right? At the same token, if you notice, once I establish that and it becomes acceptant, all of a sudden my message starts changing to the counter move of that, which is like, hey influencers, don't get too high in your own supply. Who the fuck are you? Treat people with kindness. This could go away. Make sure you start building your audience in other platforms. I'm constantly doing that. I'm right about trends, and then I start to help the people that have benefited or aspire to it to understand the counter issue of that trend. There is always a reaction to something that happens. And many things start pure and then get tainted with success. I would argue, I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and it got into humility, and it's so interesting to me. I was gifted with it, that's all I can say. My parents instilled it, it was in my natural DNA. My bravado is only matched by my humility, and every day that I'm consciously aware of my influence, my scale, my notoriety growing, I subconsciously continue to triple down to make sure my humility is outpacing my growth. My friends, you can't read about push-ups. You have to do them. You can't read or listen to what I'm saying. You have to do it. And that's what got me over the last 3 years into this part of it. I couldn't understand 5 or 6 years ago when I was handing you the keys why you weren't driving that car. And what I ended up realizing was it was all up here. There's a stunning amount of fear in this room about putting out content. How you look, what you're gonna say, what are the comments gonna say? Just a crippling amount of inaction because of the fear of people's opinions that you don't even know. And even worse, opinions of the people you love the most. And so for me, that has become an incredibly important place for me to focus on. So for me, I just have no interest in being half pregnant. I have no interest in being stuck in the middle. There's only two things for me. The macro, which is, why are you living your life based on other people's opinions? And then the micro, what are the tactics, the individual executions that actually get you to what you want? The biggest thing that I would love for this room to start doing is to start really thinking about the notion of being great at producing written words, audio, and video per the 10 platforms so that it's contextual to the platform. I just pushed a lot of you to do LinkedIn. Looking at this room, 11 of you will do it. Of those 11, if you're listening right now, remember this. When somebody's on LinkedIn and going through the content, they're in a business mindset. When they're on Instagram, they're in an entertainment mindset. So the way you convey your message is extremely important. The adjectives you use, the analogies you use, the examples you use, it has to base on the psychology. Every one of us is in a different place when we're on different platforms. You have to pander, you have to be contextual to that. So whatever you have to say about what you're doing, make sure you're being empathetic and strategic to how they're thinking when they see it. That is why I do well on each platform. I strategize around the content in reverse engineering, the psychology, in the same way that I'm trying to do that as I'm on this stage right now. What, for an audience that has so much content that they've consumed from me, can I say right now? It's why I took 40 minutes and switched it, because you can hear this shit every fucking day because I'm consistent as fuck. But what I get to do right now is use the Q&A to be contextual as shit. You just have to start with what else can I give you within the framework of my ecosystem. The reason I built the biggest wine show on the internet in the mid-2000s was I wasn't trying to sell wine, I was trying to educate people about wine. And if I happened to sell wine, I was thrilled. There's nothing, by the way, back to the last thing, there's nothing wrong with being selfish. I'm selfish, I want to buy the New York Jets. The value though is the punchline. When you slow it down and you play over 50 years, when you give more than you take, you end up with a fuckload. And so what you can do is you can start by asking a question. You can literally go back to your seat right now, take the camera on whatever you're posting on and say, hey, I've been telling you about the frames, right?
Yeah.
What do you guys want from me? What else can I be doing for you? What questions do you have for me? And then read those questions, and that will give you the insight to how you bring value. Okay. I didn't know that I needed to talk about parent and kid dynamics. I just read all the DMs from the parents and the kids, and that led me to having an understanding that there was something there to talk about.
Okay.
Got it?
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Gary, Ash Kerwin, how do you disagree with the status quo by raising your audience's heart math without seeming like a know-it-all, a heckler, or a troll?
By ending up being right.
Correct. Thank you for everything
You're
you
welcome.
do, mate.
And that's the punchline, right, to that answer. Like, so many of the things I say at first are pushed against, which I respect. When you're innovating, mate, and pushing against the status quo, people are gonna disagree with you. That's the nature of it. I don't think that I deserve to be right. I just know that if I am right, over time it builds reputation. I get away with a lot more today than I did 15 years ago because of being historically correct. Hey.
G'day, Gary.
G'day.
My name's Ethan. I'm 19, I'm a uni student at the moment, and I've been following you for years now. I love all the stuff you're doing with your Cloud and Dirt, your Empathy Wine, VaynerMedia, all the stuff. I love how you like diversification really with your portfolio. My question really was, at this point, I know I'm young and patience is key. I've got a lot of different avenues I like that appeal to different morals and things that I value.
Okay.
How do you give that 100% to everything? Or, because like I feel like I'm giving 20% to 5 different things to add up to 100.
I'd probably, listen, there's a lot of ways to do this, right? So the way I stay focused is by not being focused. That's my DNA. I need a lot of stimuli, and my big game is if I'm throwing 30 balls in the air, if 8 fall, I don't care about your collective judgment that I had 8 things fail, and I still have 22 balls in the air. That's what works for me. I have tons of people I surround myself who are only good at having 1 ball, and they crush that ball like crazy, and that's amazing too. What I would say for you is you can play both. You can try to go 5 times 20%, see what that does. Okay. You may learn during that time that you actually love number 4 and you decide to give that 80% and the others 5.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm just thinking at that point, 100, I always got the fear of like, if I go 100%, I'm gonna fuck up. And then you've answered the question before.
You know where it's an issue?
Yeah.
You're thinking.
Yeah, I overthink.
Bro, everybody overthinks. Everybody's so fucking insecure about losing that they think, which makes them never do, which keeps them away from losing.
True.
Reverse it and don't give a fuck about what people think about your loss, and shit gets real fun. I love fucking losing. I do, laughy guy. You're part of a generation that was protected from losing. You need to break the fuck out of it.
Okay.
By recognizing how sweet it is when you succeed on your own terms, how proud they'll be about you. Too many kids struggle with conflict with parents in the short term without realizing that parents always fall into line after you're successful. And by also having the humility that if you're wrong, to admit that you're wrong 20 years from now and adjust. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
listen, everybody at some level, whether they have good parents or bad parents, want to make their parents proud. It's a fucking inherent thing of coming out of somebody's body, right? It is. When I say don't listen to anybody and go quiet, I mean everybody, especially parents, spouses, siblings, especially. But here's the key. When you just said, Garyvee, I think you're the motherfucking man, where people get caught is they get too high on compliments and too low on insults. Nothing makes me happier than when I read my comments where one post is, Garyvee, you're just hot air, fuck you, right? And the next one's like, Gary, you're fucking Jesus, you walk on water. And I look at those two, and I'm like, this is why I'm gonna win. I can't hear either of them. Where so many of you are fucking up is you hear the cheering, but you're crippled by the booing. You're addicted to the cheering, but you don't want to hear the booing. I respect both equally, which means I can't hear either. Either you're gonna be right, or they're gonna be right. I feel the way you delivered your sentence that you're gonna be right. I think you need to limit how much you listen to them.